Rock or what was there?
I think it's limestone at that elevation. I'm pretty sure that's right. You can come down there sometime and see it.
I'm scared of that.
Yes.
What you may have said this already, but what are you going to do with the results of habitat density?
Well, I'm not going to have a lot of information on numbers because at least not anytime soon. Maybe in 10 years we'll know something about the population. But you really have to do a very long-term study to get population numbers because they're so hard to find. And when you find, unless you're marking them, you don't know if you're seeing the same snake over and over again, which I'm sure in some cases people are. My feeling on the matter is it's probably a pretty good population there at the park just because visitors see them at least a couple a year usually. And I did see a baby. I don't have a picture of it unfortunately, but I did see a juvenile. I've definitely seen several gravid females. So they're definitely reproducing there, which is certainly a good sign. Like I said, it is my master's project, so I mean that's what it's for, is to get the degree. But hopefully the park will be able to use it. I mean, certainly the area where that brooding log is, there are rattlesnakes there more than the ones that I tracked. And they should not build a trail or something probably right through the middle of that, but I don't think that's in their plans to do anyway. So that kind of information they can use. We do education at the park all the time, so that's kind of part of it. But,
Do you feel like you have to protect that log from certain?
not really, because I don't think anybody else ever has gone there, other than people I've taken up.
It's actually, you're not allowed to go off the trail
Yeah,
in that
that's
area.
what you're saying. You're not allowed to go off the trail, and it's not an easy place to get to. There's only 2 ways on and off of that particular ridge, and one of them involves a really steep, kind of narrow gap between 2 rocks. The rest of it's cliff line. So there's really only one good path, and if you don't happen to know where that is, and I only found it because the snake used it, it's not an easy place to get to. Most people are not going to be having an easy time getting there.
When you call it a breeding log, do they actually breed there, or you mean she gestates there?
I think,
and has her
yeah,
young?
I mean a brooding log.
Brooding log.
Yeah, I may have misspoken at some point. When I found the male and the female together, they were rather close to that. I think the hunting area is just down slope from the ridgeline where that log is. So I think he found her down a little bit, and so then she moved up. It wasn't like a real great long distance or anything. So.
You were talking about the overwintering dens. In the north, they tend to be more communal because there aren't as many dens, and so they only use the ones that are there. Right?
Well, that's my theory. Anyway.
And then in the south, it's more like there's plenty of places for individuals to go, so they can spread out. So,
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, yeah, I think it makes sense. I don't have any scientific proof of that, but
There's also indication that the further south you go, there's less of a frost line. And
yeah,
right.
You have to, it's not as, that's why there'd be more places, because they don't have to be as specific temperature-wise.
I think further north you go too, the snakes are typically at a little higher elevation. So they tend to congregate on the rockier surfaces that soak up the heat a little better, whereas in the south, a little warmer, they don't need to worry as much about heaviness. Obviously they still like rocky areas, and that's very important, but they're not often found at the big rocky outcrops like you see up in New York or parts of Pennsylvania.
of course there aren't any.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But Ohio's very similar. Usually it's just one snake here, one snake there. There's no big, like, massive community presence.
I wonder, you're right, and I wonder if there used to be.
You know, there's old reports, like if you read old historical notes and stuff, there's old reports of massive communal dens and everything. And there's definitely some areas that have the rocks for it, and then you don't find snakes there.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Yeah.
Yeah, has Doug Wynn published anything on what he's done in Ohio?
Can you repeat that? Read your question.
He wants to know if Doug Wynn has published anything recently. Not that I've seen.
I just wanted
I don't know
to
for sure, though.
compare his what he saw.
Yeah, getting them now because we've changed our email and stuff, and I really should again, but Marty Martin was sending me his kind of weekly rattlesnake report of what he found and what was going on and stuff, and a lot of my stuff was very closely correlated to what he was seeing. It would, but he's more on the same latitude, that's right, as I am, and Doug's, of course, further north, so it would be interesting to compare notes. I need to sit down and talk with him sometime. I haven't done it, but I'm definitely willing to do that.
I think all his stuff just goes to the state.
The state, you guys report.
Have you found any black individuals in your area?
Not completely black. A little bit darker, but not.
Moorhead is where we found black ones.
Moorhead.
Moorhead, and then most of the black ones you'll find in Pennsylvania and New York.
Yeah.
The yellow ones that I was talking about, the babies were born yellow, were all from Williamsburg, and they came from, both parents were yellow. So they started out yellow, so it was just from that one area.
Most of the ones I have are more on the gray or brown trend.
How many animals have you marked? I mean, tagged?
Well, there's 9 animals that I have a location for, but I tracked, I don't even know, 4, I guess. Yeah, that's right. But some of those, like the baby was one of them. And then there's a couple that I found, but I didn't have a radio at the time, so they have a pit tag in them. But I just have that one location for them.
Any recaptures on their individuals?
I haven't, but maybe.
When you were talking about the long distance translocation, do you think that most snakes that are relocated like that don't survive?
I think it depends on the snake. I think it depends on the age. I think if you move a garter snake, it probably has a pretty good chance of living.
I'm thinking
Or a
about all
water
these
snake or
white
something.
bag runs, I go on, I take black rats from one place and put them somewhere else.
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
killing them.
I don't know that it's good for a black rat to do that. I think the bigger snakes that, I don't know. I mean, I haven't radio tracked anything else, so I may be totally speaking out of turn, but my general feeling on the matter is that the larger, more sparse animals, like rattlesnakes, like black rats, like pine snakes, things like that, I think they have home ranges, and I think you'd mess them up to move them. But I think that the ones that are more abundant and general feeders, copperheads, water snakes, racers, things like that. Who knows about racers, but I think maybe they're a little bit more tolerant of it. And I also think if you move a younger snake that maybe hasn't established a home range yet, maybe that one has a greater chance of survival. But I don't know that there's much known on how juvenile garter snakes find a place to overwinter. I don't know that anybody has any idea what they do. I think probably the best policy is to move it as short a distance as you can and think that people aren't going to chop its head off, But it seems like the more we find out about animals, the better they are at knowing where they're at all the time. And, you see new studies, Gila monsters have like 90% site fidelity to where they live. I mean, they go to the same place over and over and over and over again. There just hasn't been a lot done with other small snakes because they're harder to track. The batteries are starting to get smaller now. The radios are getting smaller. You can put them in smaller and smaller animals. So maybe we'll get some people tracking the little guys now. We'll know more what they do.
The copperhead